his bed and check the pulses.
Yes, sir. I was out here already. He's one of the battalion chiefs, okay? How did you pull up? You from back there?
I went to the house and they weren't home, which was odd. I tried to call.
Okay.
And then I knew they had been down here before I left to go to my mom's.
Okay.
And so that is loaded.
Okay.
You might want to unload it. But I mean...
Is this the only firearm with you? This is the only one, or is there any more in the truck?
I believe that's it.
You think that's the only one? Okay.
I'm 99%.
Do you normally have any other firearms in your vehicle?
I don't, but occasionally occasionally there's a pistol in there.
Okay.
Checking, they're dead. They are dead, aren't they?
Just turn on those.
Yes, sir. That's what it looks like.
Randy. Maggie's all are dead. Where are you now? All right. Yeah, the police are here now. The police are here now.
Affirmative.
That's my brother.
Okay. When was the last time you were here with them? Or talked to them or anything like that?
It was earlier tonight. I don't know the exact time, but
Okay.
I left. I was probably gone an hour and a half from my mom's, and I saw them about 45 minutes before that.
Okay.
I rode around with Paul for 2 hours this afternoon in the pickup truck.
That's your son, Paul? Okay.
Somebody going to check them?
Yes, sir. They've already checked them.
They did check them?
Yes, sir.
It's official that they're dead?
Yes, sir. That's what it looks like.
I'm sorry.
No. You're fine.
I'm very sorry. Gotta call her parents.
What's her name?
Her name is Maggie Murdaugh. Margaret Brandstetter Murdaugh. Maggie Murdaugh. Margaret Brandstetter Murdaugh. How you doing?
What's her birthday?
I'm okay.
9/15/68.
Okay. And what's your son's first name? You said Paul?
Paul Terry Murdaugh.
And what's his birthday?
4. What are they covering them up?
I got some good breath now here. If I help somebody stop the breath in.
Tell them they don't have to do that. Yep.
I actually tried to be the old 8 because he's going to be the only one that's got access.
What's Paul's birthday?
April 14th, 1999, sir.
Put it up as wide as you can.
I might run out, though.
That's fine. You said 99?
Sir?
He was born in 99?
He was born April 14th, 1999.
Okay. What's your first name, sir?
My name is Alex Richard Alexander Murdaugh.
Richard Alexander Murdaugh?
familiar with the location.
I see quite a few tire tracks in here. Were any of these you going in and out?
No, I came in here and I left one time and I came back.
Okay.
But
The rest of them, maybe
Okay.
from earlier, but
Okay.
only 2 are mine.
Did you go out this way at all?
No.
Well, it's right.
Hey, stay here. Got a whole bunch of stuff right there. I don't want to disturb.
Yeah, I was trying to close the door here so we can kind of get around that way.
What if I told you that for nearly a century, one family controlled an entire region's justice system, built an empire on other people's misery, and when their world started crumbling, the patriarch chose the unthinkable? What if I told you that the murders that shocked America were just the tip of an iceberg, hiding decades of corruption, manipulation, and stolen dreams? And what if I told you that even after conviction, the truth is still unraveling? Before we dive into this case, if you're fascinated by stories where power, privilege, and justice collide, where nothing is quite what it seems, and where every answer leads to more questions, then you need to subscribe to Dark Trail Files right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we don't just tell true crime stories, we uncover the layers that others miss. We bring you the evidence, the court footage, the raw moments that reveal who people really are when everything falls apart. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's begin. Imagine a name so powerful that for 87 years, it was synonymous with justice itself. In South Carolina's rural Lowcountry, the Murdaugh name wasn't just respected, it was feared, revered, and untouchable. From 1920 to 2006, 3 generations of Murdaugh men served as the 14th Circuit Solicitor, the top prosecutor for 5 counties. That's not a political dynasty, that's a judicial monarchy. Randolph Murdaugh Sr. founded this empire in 1920. His son, Randolph Jr., inherited the throne. Then came Randolph III. And waiting in the wings was Alex Murdaugh, groomed from birth to continue the legacy. But Alex took a different path. He became a civil litigation attorney, specializing in personal injury cases. He wasn't putting people in prison like his ancestors. He was supposedly getting justice for victims and making millions doing it. The Murdaugh family law firm, Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Eltsroth, and Dietrich, or PMPD, became one of the most prestigious firms in South Carolina. They had influence, they had wealth, and most importantly, they had connections that ran through every level of the justice system. Judges, law enforcement, politicians, they all knew the Murdaughs. And that kind of power creates an invisible shield, one that would protect Alex Murdaugh for years while he committed crimes that would eventually destroy dozens of lives. But here's what you need to understand. Generational power doesn't just open doors, it creates a sense of invincibility. When your family has been above accountability for nearly a century, when you've watched your father and grandfather operate with impunity, you start believing the rules don't apply to you. And that's exactly what happened to Alex Murdaugh. He didn't just break the law, he shattered it repeatedly, confident that his name would shield him from consequences. Spoiler alert, it did, until it didn't. The Murdaugh dynasty started showing cracks long before anyone realized the foundation was crumbling. Let's go back to February 2018. Gloria Satterfield, a devoted housekeeper who worked for the Murdaugh family for over 20 years, died after what was described as a trip and fall accident at the Murdaugh home. She allegedly tripped over the family dogs on the stairs. Tragic, but accidents happen, right? Wrong. Alex Murdaugh convinced Gloria's sons that he would help them file a wrongful death lawsuit against himself and his insurance company. He told them he wanted to make sure they were taken care of, that it's what Gloria would have wanted. He recommended a lawyer, his friend, naturally. The insurance company paid out approximately $4 million. Gloria's sons never saw a penny. Not one single cent. Alex Murdaugh, the trusted family friend, the man their mother worked for devotedly, stole their entire settlement. He forged documents, created fake checks, and funneled the money into his own accounts. For $1 million that should have helped two sons cope with losing their mother went to fund Alex Murdaugh's lifestyle and his growing addictions. Years later, Gloria's son would finally have his moment in court to confront the man who betrayed his family's trust.
Who was your mother?
Gloria Satterfield.
Gloria Satterfield?
Yes.
And is Gloria still with us?
She's not.
And when did she pass?
February 26, 2018.
2018?
Yes, sir.
And who did she work for when she passed?
Alex and Maggie Murdaugh.
During the course of that, you got to know Alec and his family to some extent as well?
Yes.
Did you trust Mr. Murdaugh?
Yes.
What happened to your mom?
She fell and hit her head.
Okay. And where was she when that happened?
She was at Alice's house in Moselle.
In Moselle?
Yes.
Did she pass right away, or did she live for a while?
She lived for a few weeks.
Was she ever able to say to you what happened, how she fell or anything?
No, she was not.
After she passed, did you have any conversation with Alec about what to do about it?
I did.
And what was the conversation you had with Alec? What did he say? Go ahead.
I barely remember, but it was like, let me go after my insurance company for this or whatever, kind of get these medical bills and stuff paid.
Okay. So he said he was going to go after his insurance company?
Yes.
And get medical bills for your mom paid?
Yes.
Did he say he might get any of that money for you and your brother?
Yes.
Did you ever get 1 cent from Alex Murdaugh when he was still, before all of this happened?
No.
And it took, after this happening, and it took a legal process for that to happen, is that right?
Yes.
And ultimately, is it your understanding that he confessed judgment to taking money for both of those, is that
Yes.
right?
But Gloria's death wasn't the first tragedy orbiting the Murdaugh family. In July 2015, 19-year-old Stephen Smith was found dead in the middle of a rural highway. Authorities called it a hit and run, but nothing about the scene made sense. No vehicle debris, unusual injuries, and his body positioned strangely on the road. Stephen's mother never believed the official story. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone with power had made sure the investigation went nowhere. Years later, her instincts would prove hauntingly accurate when the case was reopened in 2023 during the Murdaugh murder investigation. As of now, Stephen's death remains officially unsolved, but the connections to the Murdaugh family continue to raise disturbing questions. Then came the tragedy that would eventually unravel everything: the boat crash. February 24th, 2019. A group of teenagers, including 19-year-old Paul Murdaugh, spent the evening drinking and boating. Paul was driving his father's boat, intoxicated and reckless. Around 2:30 in the morning, the boat slammed into a bridge piling near Paris Island in Beaufort County. The impact was catastrophic. When rescuers arrived, they found chaos. Teenagers injured, confused, terrified. But one person was missing: 19-year-old Mallory Beach. Her friends screamed her name into the darkness. Search teams combed the water. Mallory's body wouldn't be found for over a week, discovered miles from the crash site. Witnesses at the scene reported something disturbing. Paul Murdaugh was belligerent, uncooperative, and seemed more concerned about himself than his missing friend. Even more troubling, Alex Murdaugh arrived at the hospital where the survivors were being treated, and witnesses claim he tried to control the narrative immediately, asking questions, making suggestions, behaving less like a concerned parent and more like a lawyer protecting a client. The Beach family's attorney would later reveal in court just how far the Murdaughs would go to protect Paul and avoid accountability.
I think, I'm not 100% certain, that it was a fundraiser either for Mr. Harpootlian or it was a fundraiser for Lindsey Graham. As you come into the hotel, there's a gathering area. It's in the evening before everyone goes to dinner, or it's immediately after. I'm not 100% certain. But the room's full of lawyers, and Alex sees me, and he comes across, and he gets up close in my face and says, "Hey, Bo, what's this I'm hearing about what you're saying? I thought we were friends." And I replied, "Alex, we are friends. If you don't think I can burn your house down, and that I'm not doing everything, and I'm not going to do everything. You're wrong. You need to settle this case.
Okay. And so what was the point of that conversation? What was, if you can explain to the court what y'all were talking about, what is Alec upset to as you understood it?
That he was going to have to pay was what he was hearing. That's what it was. That's what the point of it was. We're friends. I took it as he tried to intimidate me. He didn't intimidate me, and sort of bully me into backing off.
Paul was eventually charged with 3 counts of boating under the influence causing death. But here's where the Murdaugh influence showed its power. The case dragged on for over 2 years with minimal progress. The family hired an army of lawyers. Alex Murdaugh worked every connection he had. And slowly, people started asking questions. Was Paul Murdaugh going to face real justice? Or was the family name going to save him one more time? For Mallory Beach's family, the nightmare was twofold. They'd lost their daughter, and they were watching the justice system move at a glacial pace while the Murdaugh family deployed their considerable resources to protect Paul. The Beach family filed a civil lawsuit, and their attorney, Mark Tinsley, became a serious problem for Alex Murdaugh. Tinsley wasn't intimidated by the family name. He started digging into Alex's finances, demanding records, asking uncomfortable questions. And what he was about to uncover would terrify Alex Murdaugh. By early 2021, Alex's financial crimes were about to be exposed. The boat crash lawsuit had opened a door that Alex desperately needed to stay closed. The pressure was mounting. His law partners were starting to ask questions about missing money. His carefully constructed lies were beginning to collapse. And then, in June 2021, everything exploded in the most horrific way imaginable. June 7th, 2021. A date that would become seared into South Carolina's collective memory. At approximately 10 p.m., Alex Murdaugh called 911, hysterical, reporting that he'd found his wife, Maggie, 52 years old, and his son, Paul, 22 years old, shot to death at their hunting property in Island Ton, known as Moselle. When officers arrived, they found Alex Murdaugh in a state that seemed like shock, but investigators would later question every word he said that night.
They are dead, aren't they?
Just turn on those.
Yes, sir. That's what it looks like.
Randy. Maggie's all are dead. Where are you now? All right. Yeah, the police are here now. The police are here now.
Affirmative.
That's my brother.
Okay. When was the last time you were here with them? Or talked to them or anything like that?
It was earlier tonight. I don't know the exact time, but
Okay.
I left. I was probably gone an hour and a half from my mom's, and I saw them about 45 minutes before that.
Okay.
I rode around with Paul for 2 hours this afternoon in the pickup truck.
That's your son, Paul? Okay.
Somebody going to check him?
Yes, sir. They've already checked them.
They did check him?
Yes, sir.
It's official that they're dead?
Yes, sir. That's what it looks like.
I'm sorry.
No. You're fine.
I'm very sorry. Gotta call her parents.
What's her name?
Her name is Maggie Murdaugh. Margaret Brandstetter Murdaugh. How you doing?
What's her birthday?
9/15/68.
Okay, and what's your son's first name? You said Paul?
Paul Terry Murdaugh.
And what's his birthday?
Jason, do you have anybody
4.
coming through town that could stop and pick up that tent? I see lighting off in the distance.
What are they covering them up?
I got some getting dressed now, Sheriff. I'll have somebody stop and grab it.
Tell them they don't have to do that. They don't need to.
The scene was brutal. Maggie had been shot multiple times with an assault rifle near the dog kennels. Paul had been shot twice with a shotgun, once in the chest and once in the head, inside the feed room of the kennels. 2 different weapons, close range, execution style. This wasn't random. This was personal. During the trial, prosecutors would describe in chilling detail the violence that occurred that night.
And you heard the testimony that Paul appears in the feed room doorway. Is Alex putting down that shotgun to pick up the blackout and is startled by Paul? And that's why the angle's like that? And catches Paul like that? And goes up into the ceiling, as you've heard the testimony from Kinsey. And blows his brains out. And what happens with Maggie right here? We see activity on Maggie's phone. You heard about sandal prints. You heard from Kenny Kinsey about the mark on her leg from the Polaris over there by the overhang next to the feed room. You've seen the diagrams and the crime scene photos that all those cases are in that area between the doorway to the feed room and where Maggie was found. You heard that Maggie had no defensive wounds. You also heard Paul and sibling from that first shot, a close range shot, with no indication that he detected a threat from the person who fired that weapon. And why? Because it was him. Same with Maggie, because Maggie sees what happens and she comes running over there, running to her baby. Probably the last thing on her mind, thinking that it was him who had done this. She's running to her baby while he's picked up the blackout and opens fire at close range, again with no defensive wounds. And she takes those 2 shots that you heard Dr. Reamer say were parallel, and it crumples her over. In those cases, you can see them move around, and takes that shot that goes through here, and she goes down flat, and then there's the shot in the back of the head.
Alec told investigators he'd been visiting his mother at her home when it happened. He claimed he came back to Moselle and found them. He said he checked them for signs of life, but they were already gone. He touched their bodies, which explained why he had their blood on him. His story seemed plausible, tragic, the devastated husband and father who discovered his family murdered. But investigators noticed something immediately. Alec's demeanor was off. He seemed more concerned with establishing his alibi than grieving. He was already telling officers about his whereabouts, unprompted, as if he knew he'd need to explain his movements. And then there was the biggest problem with his story. Alec insisted he hadn't been at the kennels that evening before discovering the bodies. He said he'd been to the main house, napping. He was absolutely certain about this timeline. He repeated it multiple times. He was lying. What Alec didn't know was that Paul had been recording a video at the kennels that night, and that video was about to destroy his alibi.
Get back! Get back! Quit, Cash. Come on. Quit. It's okay. Come here. It's not bad. Come here, Cash. Come here. Post it. Cash.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth. Bubba.
Hang on, Bubba.
It's a guinea.
This is a chicken.
Come here, Bubba.
Come here, Cash.
Come here, Bubba.
Cash. Quit.
Come here, Bubba.
At 8:44 p.m., just minutes before the murders, Paul recorded a brief video showing a dog at the kennels. The video captured something Alex Murdaugh never expected, his voice. Clear as day, Alex's voice could be heard in the background, talking with Maggie and Paul. He was there, at the kennels, right before they were killed, and he'd lied about it. The moment prosecutors played that video in court, you could see it in Alex's face, the realization that his entire defense was crumbling.
Well, what time did that camera come on?
At 8:44:49.
Okay. And how long was that video again?
It was roughly 50 seconds.
And when did that video end?
At 8:45:47.
And you're certain about that?
Yes, sir.
Why are you certain about that?
Because I reviewed the video for looking at the length of the video. It compared it to the length of the camera time that was on. Also, too, there was data recorded in the video because it was taken with the phone that had GPS coordinates along with a description of the phone that took it.
Okay. And you're telling this jury today that you're certain that that is when that video was recorded on Paul's phone?
Yes, sir.
And as we referenced, when we were looking at that timeline, there's location data associated with that video as well, correct?
Yes, sir, correct.
All right. And where did you plot that location data?
It plotted to Moselle Road to near a building that had a red roof on it.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 297. Do you recognize it, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
What is that?
It is a CD that contains a video. On it, it says Kennel Video, has States 297 on there, along with my initials and the date of 1/30/23.
And have you reviewed the contents of that CD?
Yes, sir, I have.
And what is the contents of that CD?
It is a video I found on Paul Murdaugh's phone. The video looks like inside maybe a kennel area with a fence around it and a dog, I believe to be a lab, where he's trying to take a video of the tail of the dog.
Okay. All right. And that's what you see in that video.
Yes, sir.
What do you hear in the video?
You hear 3 different voices in the video. You can tell because they're so different, you can tell that they're different voices.
All right. Now, are any of those voices known personally to you?
No, sir, they are not.
Okay. This time, State would move to enter Exhibit 297 into evidence.
The previous objection, Your Honor.
Submitted over objection.
All right. And at this time, the State's going to publish that video. It is not under seal.
Get up. Quick, Cash. Quick. Austin. Get up. Hey, you got a bird in his mouth. Hey, brother. It's a guinea. There's a chicken. Come here, Bob. Come here. Cash. Quick.
What time is that video recorded again, Lieutenant Dove?
The camera begins at 8:44:49 p.m.
And ends when?
At 8:45:47 p.m.
Cross-examination.
Paul's best friend would testify about that video and what it revealed about the last moments of Paul and Maggie's lives. But why would Alec kill his own wife and son? What kind of monster does that? The prosecution had a theory, and the more evidence they uncovered, the more convincing it became. Alex Murdaugh wasn't just under pressure, he was cornered. For years, he'd been stealing from his law firm and his clients, not thousands, millions. Over $12 million. He was running elaborate schemes, creating fake bank accounts, forging signatures, convincing vulnerable clients to trust him with their settlements, and then stealing every penny. He stole from a deaf man. He stole from a quadriplegic. He stole from a highway patrolman. He stole from grieving families. And most devastatingly, he stole $4 million from Gloria Satterfield's sons, the housekeeper who dedicated decades to his family. These weren't victimless crimes. These were people already suffering, already vulnerable, and Alex Murdaugh exploited their pain for his personal gain. Where did the money go? Primarily to support his opioid addiction. Alex was spending $50,000 a week, yes, per week, on pills. But it also went to maintaining the family image, the properties, the lifestyle, the appearance of wealth and success that was all built on fraud. By June 2021, the walls were closing in. The boat crash lawsuit was forcing Alex to produce financial records. His law partners were discovering irregularities. Beach family attorney Mark Tinsley was relentless, and a hearing was scheduled where Alex would have to disclose his finances under oath. If that hearing happened, everything would be exposed. The prosecution argued that Alex killed Maggie and Paul to buy sympathy and time. He needed the focus to shift from his financial crimes to his role as a grieving victim. He needed people to feel sorry for him instead of suspecting him. It's called a sympathy gambit. Commit an even more shocking crime to distract from the crimes you're about to be caught for. And for a while it worked. The community rallied around Alex. The investigation into his finances slowed as everyone focused on finding who killed his family. Except the person who killed them was standing right there, playing the devastated survivor. Here's what's chilling. Alex Murdaugh is a lawyer. He knew exactly how investigations work. He understood forensics, alibis, reasonable doubt. He'd spent his career in courtrooms, and he used all that knowledge to try to literally get away with murder. But he made mistakes, and those mistakes would eventually trap him. After the murders, Alex Murdaugh's behavior became increasingly erratic and suspicious. In September 2021, just 3 months after killing Maggie and Paul, Alex staged his own shooting. He called 911, claiming someone had shot him in the head while he was changing a tire on the side of the road. The wound was superficial, barely a graze, and his story immediately fell apart. Within days, Alex admitted the truth. He'd arranged for an acquaintance, Curtis Eddie Smith, to kill him. Why? So his surviving son, Buster, could collect a $10 million life insurance policy. It was fraud, it was desperate, and it was pathetic. The scheme failed, Eddie was charged, and Alex's credibility was completely destroyed. Then the financial crimes started becoming public. Alex was forced to resign from his law firm. He entered rehab, claiming his opioid addiction had caused all his problems. But addiction doesn't make you steal from grieving families. Addiction doesn't make you murder your wife and son. Those are choices. Deliberate, calculated, evil choices. In jail calls with his surviving son Buster, Alex would continue to talk about money and control, even as he faced murder charges.
How you doing on finances?
Pretty slim, but it'll be getting better.
Well, listen here. Do you want me to tell Uncle John to give you, several $1,000s, and then I'll pay him back?
No, it's just I've just had expenses, like considering I had to change my medical insurance.
Well, we need to get John to pay for the storage facility and then let me pay him back.
Well, I don't understand how you would.
You need to be paying. But anyway, I mean, do you want me to get him to give you just, I don't know, $4,000 or $5,000 so you just have, and you don't have to worry about expenses?
No, because I've got that money. Right now in my bank account, I've got $10,000. A little bit more when I get.
Sure, like when you go play golf, you can, if you want to, get a shirt and have a drink and have drinks or whatever at the bar and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, I've got stuff that can settle all that.
All right. Well, you just got to keep me posted because, I can get him to give you money and then pay him back. Okay. Well, you got to keep me posted and let me know, okay?
All right.
Everything else going okay?
Yeah, everything's fine.
You want to take my clubs?
No, I just use mine. I don't know where yours are. I think yours are still in the Mercedes. It's a Slug.
Even his own brother began to see through the manipulations during their recorded conversations. In July 2022, Alec was indicted for the murders of Maggie and Paul. He pleaded not guilty. His defense team argued that the evidence was circumstantial, that Alec loved his family, that he couldn't have done this. But the prosecution had built an overwhelming case. The financial motive, the kennel video destroying his alibi, forensic evidence, his behavior, and perhaps most damning, his pattern of lies. Alex Murdaugh lied about everything, constantly, effortlessly. And that's what ultimately convinced people he was guilty. January 25th, 2023. The trial began in Walterboro, South Carolina, and it instantly became one of the most watched trials in American history. Court TV covered it live. Millions of people tuned in daily. Everyone wanted to see if a Murdaugh would finally face real justice. The prosecution, led by Creighton Waters, methodically dismantled Alec's defense. They showed the jury the kennel video. They brought in witnesses who testified about Alec's financial crimes. They explained the motive. Alec needed sympathy and distraction, so he killed the two people who could provide both. Alec took the stand in his own defense, and his testimony included bizarre claims that raised more questions than answers.
If I took 30, if I had 30 milligram pills, you figure 100 pills would be 3,000 milligrams.
100?
100.
So you're taking 60 a day or something like that?
There were days where I took more than that. There were days I took less than that.
And how would you take them during the course of the day? I mean, how many are you taking at one time? How frequent in this time period, let's say January to June?
You know, there's a point in time, and I'm not sure when it was, I think it was well before that, where, and you have to understand this, this is something that I can still remember the first time I ever took an OxyContin.
Murdaugh, can I ask you to answer my question, and I'll let you explain all you want. And my question was, how many were you taking a day during this time from January to June? Answer that first, please, and if you want to explain, I'm happy to let you do so.
I'm not positive, and here's why. It's because over the years, like as I was saying, the first OxyContin, one OxyContin made me sick. And that was when I was transitioning from hydrocodone to oxycodone. And it made me sick because it was a really strong one. And so, you know, one OxyContin pill was like 10 hydrocodone pills. So, but anyway, as I took more and more, and over the years, it just, you know, you build up a tolerance to pain pills. And so what might give me this energy, one of the reasons I became so addicted is, you know, some people talk about pain pills and how they make them lethargic and, you know, where they can't do anything and they feel. Opiates gave me energy. I mean, whatever I was doing, it made it more interesting. You know, it made me want to do it longer. You know, to go on a drive, it made driving. It just at the beginning, it made everything better.
Alec testified in his own defense, a risky move. For days, he sat in the witness box and tried to explain away the evidence. He admitted lying about being at the kennels. His excuse? He was paranoid from drug use and worried investigators would blame him just for being there. It made no sense. He'd been sober from drugs when he lied. And if he didn't kill them, why would being at the kennels matter? Alec looked directly at the jury and denied the murders, but his performance was unconvincing.
I'm Alex Murdaugh, M-U-R-D-A-U-G-H. Good morning.
Mr. Murdaugh, on June 7th, 2021. Mr. Murdaugh, if you take a 300 blackout, such as this, and fire it into your wife Maggie's leg, torso, or any part of her body?
No, I did not.
Did you shoot a 300 blackout into her head, causing her death?
Mr. Griffin, I didn't shoot my wife or my son anytime. Ever.
Mr. Murdaugh, is that you? And in the interview of August 11th, did you tell Agent Owen and Agent Croft, did you lie to them by telling them that you were not down at the kennels on that night?
Yes.
Alec, why did you lie to Agent Owen, Agent Croft, and Deputy Rutland about the last time you saw Maggie and Paul?
He cried at convenient moments. He seemed more focused on managing his image than actually grieving. And most tellingly, he couldn't give a plausible reason for why anyone else would want to kill Maggie and Paul. In desperation, Alec even suggested that people connected to the boat crash might have killed his family, a theory prosecutors easily dismantled.
Clear, Mr. Waters, there was never, ever a point in time where I thought that the people that were involved in the boat wreck did this to Paul and Maggie.
Okay.
I've never thought that.
All right. I never thought that, but it's literally one of the first things that you said out of the 911 call.
Nah, that's not what I said. I never, ever, ever under any point in time believed that those kids that were riding in that boat or their parents or their families, I didn't believe that any of the families, the people that were involved in the boat wreck had anything to do with hurting Maggie and Paul.
Okay.
But I can tell you that at that time, and as I sit here today, that I believe that boat wreck is the reason why Paul and Maggie were killed.
Okay.
And I'm certain, I believe that.
It was random vigilantes, the 5'2" vigilantes, huh?
No, what I believe, Mr. Waters, is I believe that when Paul was charged criminally, there were so many leaks, half-truths, half-reports, half-statements, partial information, misrepresentations of Paul that ended up in the media all the time. And when I tell you the social media response that came from that was vile, the things that were said about what they would do to Paul, they were so over the top that nobody would believe anybody would get on social media and do that. But I believe then and I believe today that the wrong person saw and read that.
Okay.
Because I can tell you for a fact that the person or people who did what I saw on June the 7th, they hated Paul Murdaugh and they had anger in their heart. And that is the only reason that somebody could be mad at Paul like that and hate him like that.
Gotcha. All right, so we've got now.
But that's why I did then believe it was the boat wreck, and I believe now that the boat wreck had something to do with it.
All right, so we've got random vigilantes because of the boat wreck.
Now, I don't know that they're random vigilantes.
Well, you just said it wasn't the family or the kid, or the kids or the family of the other kids in the boat, right? So you're saying it's somebody off of social media, and you don't have any evidence of that, do you? You just believe that. You're just telling that jury that as you try to explain the lie that you told for the first time yesterday. Isn't that right?
No, sir, that's not right.
It's not right. All right, well, let me ask you a question then. So what you're telling this jury is that it's a random vigilante.
That's your
the 12-year-old, the 12-year-old 5'2" people that just happened to know that Paul and Maggie were both at Moselle on June 7th, that knew that they would be at the kennels alone on June the 7th, that knew that you would not be there, but only between the times of 8:49 and 9:02, that they show up without a weapon, assuming that they're going to find weapons and ammunition there, that they commit this crime during that short time window, and then they travel the same exact route that you do around the same time to Alameda. That's what you're trying to tell this jury?
You got a lot of factors in there, Mr. Waters, all of which I do not agree with, but some of which I do.
The defense tried to argue that the crime scene was contaminated, that investigators were incompetent, that 2 different guns meant 2 different killers. But the prosecution had answers for everything. This was one killer using 2 weapons to make it look more complicated. This was Alex Murdaugh executing his family, and then calling 911 to play the victim. Maggie's sister provided heartbreaking testimony about the family and the loss they'd suffered.
Ms. Proctor, when we left on the break, I was asking you what happened in September that caused you to change your assessment. Can you describe that to the jury, please?
On September 4th, we were headed to a football game, and my husband, Bart, received a phone call from a friend saying he was so sorry to hear about what had happened to my brother-in-law. And we had no idea what he was talking about. And he said, well, we've heard, he told us he had been shot. So we pulled over on the side of the road. We were all in hysterics. We called Buster, and Buster said yes, that his dad had been shot, that he was being airlifted to the hospital, that they thought hoped he was going to be okay. So we wanted more information, so we called Jim Griffin, and he told us that Alec had been shot in the head and that he had been fired from his law firm for stealing.
What was your concern when you heard that he had been shot?
Initially, I thought he might be dead. I had just lost 2 of the family members, and I felt like they were being targeted at that point. I felt like the family was being targeted.
Subsequent to that, did your concern that the family was being targeted, did that change as well?
Over the course of a few weeks, we were still on high alert, worried for Buster, but at that point, information started coming out about some things that Alec had done financially that we had no idea about.
And that changed your assessment about what you heard about him being shot as well, is that correct? Can you answer out loud?
The shooting, that was an event in itself. The roadside shooting.
You just stated that the shooting itself, the roadside shooting, was an event in itself. Did other information come to your attention that changed your assessment about the roadside shooting at a later time?
Yes.
And changed that initial concern that Alec was somehow being targeted?
Yes.
Even Alex's longtime law partner and friend testified, revealing just how deep the betrayal ran.
When I got out of court, I saw that I'd missed communications from one of my partners, Mark Ball, and I called him, and he said, "We have a problem," and I was like, "What?" And he said, "You have to come now," and I said, "I'm just walking out of court. I need to go home and eat supper, and it's not on my way." And he didn't ever tell me what it was, but he said, "You have to come now." And I could tell the urgency, and so he told me where to meet him, and that would have been in Cummings, South Carolina, at my partner Danny Henderson's place, and which was not on my way home, but he was so insistent that I went there and met. When I got there, Danny and Mark were there waiting on me.
And ultimately, what was your discussion?
I was giving a folder that had paperwork in it, and that paperwork consisted of checks, both front and back, and I was asked to review them.
And were those the what's been called the fake forged checks?
I believe the fake forged checks, there was not all of them that Ms. Seckinger went over, but I believe that there was, I could probably call the names of most of them that were there. I know it was Anderson, Bush, Moore. There was probably about 5 or 6 of them, and I believe they had a copy of the Ferris check there too.
Ferris check?
Yes, and I'd sat for a minute and reviewed it. I think Danny said, "You're going to need a drink." And so...
Did you have a drink?
Yeah, ultimately more than one.
What happened after that?
Well, they didn't tell me what was in it. They let me review it on my own. And I immediately said, this is bad. And my words then were that we have to terminate Alec. He cannot no longer practice with us. And that was within, I don't know how many minutes, but it was not a long period of time, because the way Jeannie had it laid out, it was clear what had happened and that this money had been stolen.
Did any of the partners go to confront Alec with this information that had been uncovered?
Yes, there was a meeting the following morning at Lee's house. I did not attend. I did not need to attend. I was still getting ready for trial. I had already decided where this was going, and they met, and then we, Danny and Randy, Alec's brother, went and met with Alec.
And what was your understanding of what the defendant said as a result of that?
That he admitted and said that he knew he was going to get caught at some point in time, and admitted to them that he did it.
The tension in the courtroom exploded during this confrontation that showed how personal this case had become.
You're trying to take me somewhere that you probably don't want to.
Oh, no, I think I want to. Answer the question. withdraw the question. Let me ask you this question. Maybe let's get to the meat of the matter here. Have you had to come out of pocket to pay back the money he stole?
Yes, and if you...
How much? And don't tell me you don't know.
Well, we're still counting, Mr. Harpootlian.
Well, how much have you paid so far?
We have had to borrow millions to pay back.
No, how much have you had to come out of pocket?
Well, when you borrow it, you got to pay it back, and I couldn't tell you how much has exactly been paid back as of we sit here today. But yes, and if you're implying that I would come in here and somehow shade truth in any way because of that, I would take high offense with that, Mr. Harpootlian.
I'm concerned about your high offense. Are you angry at him for stealing your money?
I have no feeling one way or the other.
I don't have any feeling about Alex Murdaugh betraying you and stealing your money. I admire you. I don't know that I could look beyond that.
Objection, Your Honor. It's sustained. It's not a question. The jury is to disregard the argument.
You are not angry with Alex Murdaugh?
I have had anger with him, extreme anger, Mr. Harpootlian, because of what he did to my law firm, my partners, my client, his clients, our clients, what he did to his family, what he's did to so many people. Yes, I experienced a lot of anger. But you can't walk around with anger. You have to find a way to deal with it and move forward. And I have done that. And if you suggest you are dead wrong if you think I've come in here and told this jury something because of money, when we're talking about two people who were brutally murdered, then you're headed in the wrong direction.
You think he did it?
I don't have an opinion. I don't have the benefit of the materials you have.
Well, let me ask you this. You're angry with him, stole millions of dollars from your firm. You admit your firm's not even called the Murdaugh firm anymore, right?
It is not. I don't admit that I'm angry right now. I told you I've gotten away from that. I don't have any feelings because you can't walk around with anger. I have been very, very angry about it because of what he's done. And he did it in a very callous way, a very deceitful way.
And you carry I'm sorry, maybe I just saw some anger there. Were you angry just a moment ago?
No, you keep trying to push a question and don't want to accept my answer, which is what it is.
That you've just given your zen, your nirvana, your whatever the...
Your Honor, objection.
Are you
Mr. Harpootlian,
forgiving him?
I came to the scene of these murders to support my partner. I was there. I saw things that hadn't even been talked about in this courtroom. I was there. I love Paul very much. I thought I knew who Alec was. I did not. And it's hard to you might not understand, but it's hard to walk around with anger, and hard to even walk around with it when it's with somebody you didn't know and didn't understand. So you might have be that way, but I've got to function, I've got a family, I've got to move on with life.
And even though it's cost you your firm and it's cost millions of dollars to you, you have forgiven him? You bear him no ill?
I didn't say I forgave him.
You're just not angry about it anymore.
I said I have no feelings. And I had to work on that, Mr. Harpootlian. When you go through what we've gone through, not only the trauma of losing people we loved in a double homicide, seeing the aftermath, and then learning that someone you've worked with for more than 20 years had been stealing throughout a period of time and deceiving us, there's a lot of emotion there. And yes, it was bad in the fall of 2021, and I have found a way to have no feelings. It's not forgiveness, it's just I don't have
You're not
any
angry here today. You're not angry at him at all.
I'm not angry. If I raise my voice, it's only because of the implication that you were trying to
The implication that you might not want to help him in front of this jury here today because let me finish the question. Because he destroyed your firm, he stole millions of dollars you had to pay back. He deceived you. All that's away and is not influencing your testimony here today at all. If you'd answer that yes or no, then you can explain.
All those things happened, and it does not influence my testimony. I take the oath that I just took very seriously, and if you got any indication that anything I said was inaccurate, I'll be glad to address it with you.
Well, the jury can judge that. Thank you.
March 2nd, 2023. After deliberating for less than 3 hours, the jury returned their verdict. Guilty on all counts. 2 counts of murder. 2 counts of possession of a weapon during a violent crime. The courtroom erupted. The Murdaugh dynasty, 8 decades of power and privilege, came crashing down in that single moment. The next day, Alex Murdaugh stood before the judge to learn his fate.
And I have lived with this case now for over 2 years, and I have 34 days left before active retirement. And after imposing this sentence, your life will continue. I will turn the page and leave you behind. You're quite an enigma, a person that many of us thought we knew. And as I stated earlier, I can only recall you as being a fun-loving, happy person. I've never seen you sad. I've never seen you being anything other than a friendly, caring person. And it's so disappointing to see you again in this setting. I believe the last time we saw each other and you were not in jail was at a conference when you were poolside having a good time. And as it turns out, that was a couple of months after the passing of your wife and son. But you were having a good time, made nothing of it, and then the Labor Day weekend events occurred, and next thing I know, I'm assigned to preside over all of your matters. Not on your matters, but others as well. And we started out with over 100 charges, indictments against various folks, and we've whittled that down to just a handful, outstanding. And I'm happy to turn the page and turn, not turn the remnants over to anyone else, but to certainly turn over anything pending against you to someone else. It's been said that these are white-collar offenses. I've never had that distinction. I've never thought of it that way. I've looked at criminal offenses as criminal offenses. You know, 3 property crimes in South Carolina is you can get 10 years in prison. People have gotten 10 years for shoplifting, 3rd offense. I've sent people into retirement for committing criminal offenses over and over and over again. But I've never thought of it as being a white-collar offense. Having had employees do embezzlement, church secretaries stole money, preachers stolen money, many offenses. But I never draw a distinction between a violent crime and other crimes. Certainly the law makes a distinction, and many violent crimes are non-parole offenses. The plea I'm accepting with you, you must serve 85% of the time. The parties have indicated that they are the victims, to the extent that they can be called victims there. That's my preferred term for the group of people who have been preyed upon or victimized. They've all indicated that they would like for the court to accept the negotiated sentence. It is a stern sentence. The question was asked, what kind of animal are you? You're an enigmatic person. I don't know that you understand yourself. what comes to mind is a young man that I sentenced to death penalty for killing a police officer and setting his body on fire. And though personally I was opposed to capital punishment, he was sentenced to death. And in writing up that sentence report, I concluded that he was heartless. He was just empty. And when I see you and I listen to you and I reflect on all that I've seen since being appointed, assigned to these cases, you come closest to that young man. Being empty, I don't see anything. I tried to reach you at sentencing in the other case. I've listened to you here today, and I don't see anything there. Hopefully something will emerge within your spirit, within your soul. Certainly, being a person of your age and intelligence and experience, you have a lot to offer to the people that you encounter on a daily basis in the institution, and I think it's admirable that you've indicated that you will help them and continue to try to do good by them. You'll certainly have a lot of opportunity to do that. As we look at it, all of us, none of us are perfect. Many of us do things that we shouldn't do. It's just unimaginable to me that you have done some of the things that you've done, and whether it's you or someone you become upon using drugs or through the process of just committing the crimes over and over the period of years. I don't know. I don't even know who I'm speaking to now. But being a person of power and influence, and the question is raised of what type of character do you have? A person who would prey upon folks who are vulnerable and who are of a lower perceived estate than you. How you would prey upon those people who you say you love. And you capitalize on a disparity of what you have versus what they had and what they need and what they desired. In my years, I know of no greater joy as a lawyer that I've had during my 47 years as a lawyer than the joy of having a satisfied client, of delivering good results for a client and experiencing that joy with them. I can think of no greater joy than I've experienced in being able to deliver on behalf of a client. And I'm sure you've experienced that joy as well until you decided that the only joy you're concerned about was your own. I take no joy at all in imposing this sentence, but it is what it is. And you'll have to suffer the consequences of your acts, continue to suffer the consequences, and hopefully some good will come out of you as you move forward.
Judge Clifton Newman sentenced Alec to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. He would die in prison. During sentencing, the judge's words were devastating. He told Alec that his family's legacy of public service made his crimes even more egregious. He betrayed everything his family was supposed to stand for. But even after conviction, Alex Murdaugh kept fighting, and the drama was far from over. While the murder trial captured headlines, Alec's financial crimes were being prosecuted separately. In November 2023, he pleaded guilty to 22 federal counts of fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. In November of that same year, he pleaded guilty to an additional 27 state financial crime charges. During his financial crimes sentencing, Alec addressed his victims directly, but his words rang hollow to those he'd destroyed.
Last thing I want to say, Your Honor, is that I am fully committed to trying to be a better person. I'm going to do as much good as possible and help as many people as I can while I'm incarcerated. I remain fully and wholeheartedly committed to finding a way to somehow make those who love me proud again in some small way. I appreciate each of you talking to me. I appreciate each of you looking at me while I'm talking to you. I can tell that you're listening, and I appreciate it. I'm going to say one more time, I hope you know, I hope you believe that it is heartfelt. And the 2 things that I hope you take away today are, number 1, that I care about you, and number 2, that I hate the things that I did, and I am so sorry. And Your Honor, I thank you for letting me address you and for letting me address the victims. Thank you so much.
Sir.
The scope of his theft was staggering. Gloria Satterfield's sons, Tony Satterfield, testified about the betrayal and pain Alec had caused by stealing their mother's settlement. In April 2024, Alec was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison for his financial crimes, to run concurrently with his murder sentences. He was also ordered to pay $8.7 million in restitution. Money he doesn't have. Money he spent on drugs and maintaining a lie. His victims will likely never see full compensation. Let me break down just some of the people Alex Murdaugh victimized. He stole from a highway patrolman injured in the line of duty, from a woman rendered quadriplegic in a car accident, from a deaf man who trusted him with his only financial security, from families of people who died in tragic accidents. These people came to him in their darkest moments, believing he would help them, and he robbed them blind. That's not just criminal, it's evil. You'd think being convicted of murder and sentenced to life would be the end of Alex Murdaugh's story. But this case has more twists than anyone could have predicted. In late 2023, Alec's attorneys filed a motion for a new trial based on shocking allegations. Jury tampering. They claimed that Becky Hill, the Colleton County Clerk of Court who presided over the trial, had improperly influenced the jury. Specifically, they alleged that Hill told jurors to watch Alex's body language and demeanor, essentially suggesting he was guilty before they'd even deliberated. Why would she do this? Alex's attorneys claimed it was financial. Hill had written a book about the trial called Behind the Doors of Justice, The Murdaugh Murders, and she wanted a guilty verdict to boost sales. In January 2024, a hearing was held. Multiple jurors testified. One juror, known as Juror Z, said Hill's comments did affect her verdict because Hill made it seem like Alec was already guilty. Judge Jean Toll, a retired South Carolina Supreme Court justice, ultimately denied the motion for a new trial. She said that while Hill was attracted by the siren call of celebrity and made improper comments, those comments didn't actually influence the guilty verdict. The jury had convicted Alec based on evidence, not Becky Hill's whispers. But the story took another shocking turn. In May 2025, Becky Hill was arrested and charged with felony misconduct in office, obstruction of justice, and perjury. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division had been investigating her for over a year. The charges alleged that Hill lied under oath during the tampering hearing, that she released sealed evidence to the press, and that she used her position to promote her book for financial gain. She was even accused of giving herself unauthorized bonuses totaling nearly $10,000. Hill's arrest sent shockwaves through the legal community. Alex Murdaugh's attorneys immediately issued statements saying they weren't surprised and that this vindicated their concerns about the trial's integrity. They filed an appeal with the South Carolina Supreme Court in December 2024, a 132-page document arguing that Hill's misconduct, combined with other trial errors, warranted a new trial. As of now, November 2025, that appeal is still pending. The state has filed responses. Oral arguments haven't been scheduled yet. So here's the surreal reality. Alex Murdaugh, who murdered his wife and son in cold blood, might actually get a new trial because the clerk of court was allegedly more interested in selling books than protecting justice. Does that mean Alex is innocent? Absolutely not. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The kennel video alone destroys any reasonable doubt. But it does mean our justice system has to maintain integrity at every level, even for defendants as guilty as Alex Murdaugh. If Hill did tamper with the jury, if she did lie under oath, then that's a violation of Alex's constitutional rights, no matter how despicable he is. And that's a sobering reminder that justice has to be fair, even when we desperately want to see someone punished. Let's step back and look at the full scope of devastation Alex Murdaugh left in his wake. Maggie and Paul are dead, murdered by someone who was supposed to protect them. Gloria Satterfield is dead, her son's robbed of justice and compensation. Mallory Beach is dead, killed in a boat crash caused by Paul's recklessness enabled by Alex's power. Stephen Smith is dead under circumstances that still raise questions about Murdaugh family involvement. Dozens of clients were financially destroyed, their settlements stolen to feed Alex's addictions. A prestigious law firm was ruined, its reputation shattered by association with Alex's crimes. An entire community's faith in the justice system was damaged by seeing how long the Murdaugh name protected Alex from consequences. Buster Murdaugh lost his entire family. His mother murdered, his brother murdered, his father revealed as the killer. Think about that burden. Buster is now suing media outlets over allegations connecting him to Stephen Smith's death, fighting to clear his name from his family scandal. Russell Lafitte, a banker who helped Alex hide his thefts, has been convicted and sentenced to prison. Curtis Eddie Smith, who agreed to the fake shooting scheme, is facing charges. The ripples of Alex's crimes extend far and wide, destroying lives and reputations across South Carolina. And here's the most haunting part. For years, people knew something was wrong. There were rumors about the Murdaughs, whispers about their power, questions about how they always seemed to avoid accountability. But the family name, the generational influence, the connections throughout the justice system, it all created a shield that protected Alex until the shield finally shattered on June 7th, 2021. This case forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. How many other powerful families are operating like the Murdaughs? How many people are committing crimes right now, confident that their wealth, connections, and influence will protect them? How many victims are suffering in silence because they don't believe they'll get justice against someone powerful? The Murdaugh case isn't just about one man's fall from grace. It's about the corruption that festers when power goes unchecked for generations. It's about the price paid when we allow certain people to exist above the law. And it's about the courage of people like Mallory Beach's family and Gloria Satterfield's sons, who refuse to let the Murdaugh name intimidate them into silence. So where does the Murdaugh saga stand today? Alec is in prison, serving life without parole plus 40 years for financial crimes. His appeal is pending. Becky Hill is facing her own criminal charges. The investigations continue, and the Lowcountry is slowly healing from decades of Murdaugh influence. But some questions remain unanswered. What really happened to Stephen Smith? Were there other victims we still don't know about? How did Alec get away with stealing millions for so long without anyone in his firm noticing? And perhaps most disturbing, would any of this have come to light if Alec hadn't murdered Maggie and Paul? Think about that. If Alec had just continued stealing, if the boat crash lawsuit had somehow gone away, if his financial crimes had stayed hidden just a little longer, would he still be practicing law today? Would Gloria's sons ever have learned they were robbed? Would any of his victims have gotten justice? That's the terrifying reality. It took a double murder to finally expose everything else. The Murdaugh murders proved that eventually, even the most powerful dynasties fall. Eventually, even the most elaborate lies unravel. Eventually, justice catches up. But the cost? Oh, the cost is almost too much to bear. 2 lives taken violently. Dozens more lives ruined financially. A community's faith shattered. A family's legacy destroyed. All because one man believed he was above accountability, and for 87 years, his family had been. This is Dark Trail Files, and this is the Murdaugh story. A dynasty built on justice that ended in murder, theft, and betrayal. A reminder that no one, no matter their name, their wealth, or their power, is truly above the law. It might take time. The wheels of justice might turn slowly, but they do turn. And when they finally caught Alex Murdaugh, they crushed him completely. If this case has taught us anything, it's this: watch the powerful carefully. Question authority. Believe victims when they say something's wrong. And never assume that a family's reputation means they're above committing unspeakable crimes. Sometimes the monsters wear expensive suits and have law degrees. Sometimes they hide behind century-old legacies. But they're still monsters. Thank you for watching Dark Trail Files. If this deep dive into the Murdaugh murders kept you captivated, if you learned something new, if you felt the weight of this tragic story, then do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, and share this video. We're building a community of people who demand truth, who won't look away from difficult stories, and who believe that every victim deserves justice, no matter how powerful their victimizer might be. I'll see you in the next investigation. Stay safe out there, and remember, the truth always matters, even when it takes decades to emerge. Read Triclawed can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.